Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of No Cap, a sports talk television show by the students of UNT for the students of UNT.
We out here.
No cap.
I'm your host, Reese Conkle.
Van Malone.
And I'm Jeremy Beeling, giving you the realest information here today.
Is that right?
Here we go.
That's 100%.
We got a lot of things for you guys today. We're going to talk about the NBA season being in full swing, get the NFL playoff picture taking shape. But first and foremost, I want to get to the NCAA's rule change to allow student athletes to profit off their name and their
NCAA football 20, here we come.
Bro, that might be my.
Like, that's what I was thinking. Let's see Tua on the cover, Jalen Hurts on the cover.
That
Mason
might
Fine on
be
the cover.
my biggest takeaway from all of this. And of course, I'm happy for the athletes because,
Of course.
as we were talking about off air, it's about damn time. It's about damn time.
It really took them long enough.
This was literally a century in the making, and I'm curious. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the matter because obviously I know how I feel about it. Jeremy?
So, I mean, just looking up some stuff before the show, I don't know if y'all knew this. Last year, during March Madness alone, the NCAA made over $1 billion. That's billion with
Sheesh.
a B.
Sheesh.
$1 billion. How much did Zion get from that?
8 million?
Zero. He got $0 and 0 cents. That we know of.
No, we don't know that the people are watching because of Zion. How do we know that?
I mean, they only show him in every other clip
Right.
leading up
That's
to the
literally,
game.
it might as well be like the ESPN Zions.
Didn't they have like a Zion cam?
Yes.
Like where you could literally follow
Yes.
Zion across the floor. Like
Yes.
I'm pretty sure even games not including Duke, they had
I'm
a
pretty sure
Zion.
when he was hurt, I'm pretty sure when they hurt, they had a camera on him on the sidelines.
But anyways, going back to the new NCAA ruling, like I said, these players are out here, especially the ones that are trying to get to the next level, out here giving their blood, sweat, and tears, helping build stadiums, Johnny Manziel, helping build these campuses, really build this whole university up, and they don't see any of the profits. And I think it, like you said, it's about damn time that some of them reap some of the benefits that they're working so hard for.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even thinking about not even like football, thinking about America as a whole. If you're really good at something, you should be able to profit for that good something.
That's the best way to put it.
I mean, if for example, if I was really good at coding,
You're not.
I'm not. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. No, I'm not. I'm awful. Like I know Adobe. I know Adobe.
Yeah,
That's about
I
it.
can edit video and
Yeah.
audio. That's
But like
that's
if I
all
was
you
good
can do.
at anything right out of high school, I can sell my ability to code, and obviously that doesn't take. It's not the physical toll that many of the sports that athletes play now, but it's really interesting now that we can see that, and it's like a breath of fresh air. Now, Tim Tebow obviously said it takes the integrity away from college football.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or like
Tim.
the pureness. Well, yes, there will be those cases where players abuse the rule, players like fudge the rule. Somebody's gonna give somebody too much. It's gonna happen. But I mean, I would take that over having these guys be suspended because somebody gave him like shoes or something.
And
like what happened in North
You
Carolina.
can't have it. I know there's a kid in Florida couldn't have a YouTube account because he was
Yep,
making money off
And
subscriptions.
I really wanted to talk to you about this, Reese. So I feel it's more of it is focused towards basketball in the NCAA. And I wanted to know, with all this hype with LaMelo Ball and all these players going overseas to play instead of going the traditional route, going to an NCAA school for a year, coming out, do you think that has anything to do with their decision right now? Because, I mean, more than ever, New Zealand basketball is on the map.
Oh yeah. I was like Australian basketball. They have that.
So let me ask you this, Jamie. Are you suggesting that the NCAA did something to protect their own interest and is promoting it as a decision that benefits everybody?
Oh, I think that might be the case. here, Reese.
That's exactly the
Exactly.
case. Look, I'm not even like the cynical sports fan who distrusts every. I'm not anti-establishment, I guess you could say. Like, I don't distrust every organization or team or assume the worst. The NCAA has pushed me to that limit to where I can't trust a word that comes out of their mouth.
It's always looking to trying to back their own, like trying to like protect themselves.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, but you've like nearly basically exploited all of these.
That's the
people
word.
For,
That's the word.
Like their talent, sucked them from their livelihood. Some of them, have brain injuries. Like we think of the guy that committed suicide, Tyler
Helinski from Washington
either
State
Ryan or
quarterback.
Tyler,
Yeah.
Like
I think it's Tyler.
He played football, which means that's I believe that's why their rule is ruling a death because of
He had
CTE.
CTE. Yeah,
he had CTE. So, like.
His family doesn't get a dime of what he generated for
he played football
Washington
at the
State.
NCAA.
just being the devil's advocate here. I mean, obviously, I'm all on board. Players should get paid. I mean, the NCAA, tisk, bad on you. But you kind of dive a little bit deeper, kind of see how do you disparage who gets paid what, and how do you define who really makes the team and who doesn't, of getting paid? Because, right now the argument has been they get scholarships, they get
They don't go to class
fed.
anyway. They don't go to class.
Here's
Some
the
of
thing,
them,
though.
some of them.
That's not what this is. This isn't about like who's more valuable to the university. The university's not paying
Yeah,
these
it's
kids
based
anything.
on third-party people
They
like
can make
Nike.
the money themselves
Yeah.
now. They can sign an agent or a promoter.
If Nike wanted to say,
Sign-
hey, UNT soccer player, I'm going to sponsor you, then go for it.
Yeah.
But more than that, do you think this affects smaller schools like we go to UNT? Do you think this affects smaller schools because there will be much more of a draw if somebody's marketable to go to Southern California, go to one of the LA schools, go somewhere in California where it's so much more marketable to be a professional athlete?
Maybe, but it's not like those schools are picking who they want to come play for them. It's not like
Yeah.
everybody has free reign to choose where they want to go play. Like,
True.
I could be like, I want to go play basketball at Duke.
Hey, go for
Coach
it.
Case can be like, you suck. You can't play here. Like, so I see what you're getting at. Small schools are always going to be at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to sports,
I mean, that's kind of
college
life,
athletics.
isn't
Yeah, in a way,
just part
it's
of it.
life. It's unfortunate. And the same way that it's life that Zion is more valuable to a university than the backup quarterback on the football team.
True.
And if we ever get to the point of, hey, the schools are going to fund these guys, like almost have like a salary cap. I've heard that idea thrown around.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that, the guy on the swim team isn't going to make as much as
Just
the star on the basketball team.
America. That's like
But
how
that's
it is.
that's economics.
Exactly.
And if anything, that's what college is to teach you. And that's why this rule makes so much sense, because it reinforces the idea that the ideals of which you're in college for. And that's to learn how to survive on your own, how to make money. And that's exactly what
Honestly,
what
quick
this is.
tangent. College athletes need a class how to manage their money.
Absolutely.
There is way too many NFL, NBA guys that get out of the league. 3 years later, they're broke, bought a Tiger, have 3 cars, and can't pay their light bill.
Hey,
like that is asinine. Colleges,
I agree.
fix it, figure it out.
But the real question is, would you not buy a Tiger if you had
I
that
would.
money?
I mean, come on, a Tiger.
Everybody would buy a Tiger. And just before, I know we're about to move on to the next segment and talking about college football, but just before we get off, I just really want to highlight that I think we're all in the same ship. We're just glad to see progress.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's not something that the NCAA is like. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think we can do it. Like, kind of like that mom who you're asking, like, oh, can we go out to eat? And they're like, oh, we have food at home. Like,
I hate that
like
answer.
it's a little bit more compromised here. They're treating these athletes with a little bit more respect, and no matter where it goes from here, I'm just glad to see the pendulum moving forward.
Yep. And as Jeremy mentioned, we're going to go ahead and move into college football and change gears here. We're going to look at some of the top games from the previous weekend. It wasn't a particularly great slate, but we did have a couple that might have impacted the playoff picture going forward. Most notably, number 6 Georgia taking on number 8 Florida. Yeah, when Uga and the boys won that one 24-17. Jake Fromm, 20 of 30, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lawrence Cager,
Jake
7
Fromm.
catches.
That's a bad man.
I guess.
Is he? Is he though?
Mid-average.
I mean,
Yeah, he's okay. Sorry, hold on. I'll get through it, and then we'll
get
talk
there,
about
we'll
Jake
get there,
Fromm.
we'll get there.
Lawrence Cager, 7 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. The go-ahead touchdown to win them the game. How do we feel about Georgia?
Average. Their defense is cool. Their running game is cool. The only thing is
DeAndre
Jake Fromm,
Swift is a bad boy.
oh my gosh, he's a beast. But see, the thing is, Jake Fromm, we kind of expected, we wanted Jake Fromm to like, okay, you're an NFL quarterback, right? Let's see it. And he hasn't seen it. Now, yes, the receivers aren't great, I guess, for Georgia standards, coming out like Riley Ridley.
They don't have any AJ Greens
Yeah,
or
they
Riley
don't have
Ridleys
they don't have
or
that guy.
McCall
A lot of teams
Hardmans.
don't have that
Hey,
guy.
you have Swift.
He's a stud. He is a stud. My biggest issue with Georgia, and look, I think Jake Fromm is a terrific college quarterback. I have really big doubts about him regarding his potential as a pro. To me, he's Christian Ponder. I'm a Florida State fan, so
I've always called him
Don't-
the Dak
do
Prescott.
not put
he's
that
like the
curse
Dak
on
Prescott.
him.
When everything is there for him, he's great.
Hold on.
But when it's time for him to carry his
we'll
team,
talk about
it's
Dak
not there.
Prescott here in a little
Yes,
bit.
we will.
I will not tolerate Dak
Do not
slander.
put the Christian Ponder curse
on
this
Dak
man.
Prescott. Yeah,
Please
let's
do
not
Dak
do that.
Prescott.
Let's not do that. But yeah, Georgia pulls that one out 24-17. They only have one loss to a really bad South Carolina team at home between the hedges, which we'll talk about with the playoff picture. I don't think that's going to bode too well for them. Next up, we have local West Virginia and Baylor. Believe it or not, Baylor is undefeated. Undefeated Baylor. They are number, I think, 11 in the country?
No, looking at the board that we have up here, we got them AP Top 25 poll. They're ranked 11 at 8-0. It's surprising, and it really shows you how the odds makers and how everybody's viewing Baylor, even though they are undefeated. Them and Minnesota are both out of the top 10. So
which is justified because the Big 12 is
no respect.
Basura this year.
Yeah,
no respect.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's mostly OU, sort of Texas. K-State's been a surprise. They've been a pretty
Your dad coaches
good
there,
team.
correct?
He does, yes. Shout out to my dad. Love you, Pops. He'll probably listen to this. He'll ask me for the link after.
Yeah.
But, especially because Baylor, they did beat Kansas State pretty handily, and you think Kansas State beat OU. Maybe you can kind of cross the lines and stretch it, say Baylor has played somebody. But honestly, at 8-0, they're similar to a Minnesota 8-0. They have not been tested yet. Now, Minnesota plays Penn State, obviously, this weekend. We will
Game
see.
of the week, right, boys?
Well,
Huh? Roll Tide!
Go Tigers! Go Tigers!
Roll
Go Tigers!
Tide!
So-
To the promised land.
Yeah. So anyway, Charlie Brewer, Baylor's quarterback, who's pretty damn good. If you hadn't got a chance to watch him, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, leading his squad to a win. Next up, we have SMU, or SMU, you might know them as, versus the Memphis Tigers. Memphis wins that game 54-48 to take complete control of the American Athletic Conference. Memphis quarterback Brady White goes for 350 and 3 touchdowns. Shane Buechele, Texas transfer, you might be familiar with him, 456 yards and 3 touchdowns.
How about him?
He throws a really good deep ball.
I'm
I'm impressed whenever I watch
out
him.
and said, Shane Buechele, we're gonna you got it, Shane. And
Yeah.
He and Sonny Dykes have really put something together.
Do you think Tom Herman's looking at these SMU highlights, thinking,
No.
oh, maybe if I had him instead of Sam Ellinger?
You know what? I'm as big a Sam Ellinger critic as you're gonna find.
I don't think so.
He's played well this year. He was really bad against TCU, but up
Yeah.
until that point, Sam has played well. Texas,
He's played pretty good.
I thought he was like, and again, I don't like these kinds of quarterbacks. They're not appealing to me. Like a Tebow type, the sawed-off quarterback, I think is the
love
word.
that.
My brother was what my brother calls him. Like
Colin
Blake,
Klein
if you remember,
looking.
Colin
Tim
Klein,
Tebow.
Blake Bell. If you remember
Blake
the
Bell.
Belldozer from guys
Oh,
like
yeah.
that do not interest me. But Sam has been slinging it this year, so I'll give him his credit. But Shane Buechele has got a really an NFL caliber arm.
And his
I don't think
weapons
that's
are crazy. Like he has so
who's
many
the
weapons.
number
James
3?
Prochet.
Prochet, that's who I'm
Reggie
thinking of.
Robinson.
And I gotta say, didn't get any attention really before the season. Has come out as a stud for SMU. Running back Xavier Jones,
He's great.
giving himself quite the NFL kind of pregame, tape for all these NFL scouts to look at, saying, hey, he might be a second day, third round pick.
Mhm.
Who can
He
help
looks
us
good.
kind of
Yeah.
change our
I
team
mean-
around. Alvin Kamara came out. Really,
He reminds me of him.
He was not the first running back taken off the board, but I bet if they could redo that draft right now, he'd be in the top 20 picks.
Yeah.
Easily. Backs who, especially in the current state of not only the NFL but college football especially, backs who are multiple, that can split out and play in the slot or catch the ball out of the backfield, that can do different things, and not just like you're in between the tackles, physical hammer away at you type backs like Zeke Elliott, for example, or Leonard Fournette. Those guys are obviously Zeke's great. Leonard Fournette's a good back, but you don't want those guys shouldn't be at a premium compared to the guys who can impact the passing game because in today's NFL and college football, the teams that win the most are the teams that throw the ball the best.
Yep.
And that's why you need a back who does those sort of things. So unfortunately, SMU comes up short against Memphis, but it was a fun ride.
That was an amazing game if you got to catch that one.
SMU is sort of the lovable losers, I feel like, around here. Like they haven't been good since they got the death penalty. So pony up, if you will. But we're moving on to some of the bigger games this upcoming weekend. I need somebody, and I know we don't have the technology to execute this. I need somebody to play the SEC on CBS theme music right now. Because we have the game of the year. The game of the year, not in the SEC, in the entire country.
Gosh, it feels a long time since this game has mattered.
Yeah.
It felt a while. Like
Yeah.
Tony
Well,
Jefferson, Zach Megenberger was the quarterback
like
for LSU.
last year it was thought to be a good win. Then
Eh.
Alabama went into LSU and wiped the floor with them. Pow. Yes. But now we have number 1 versus number 2.
Here we go again.
In the SEC West, we got Joe Burrow on one side. We got Tua Tagovailoa on the other side. Weapons across the board. Jerry Jeudy. Who's the slot guy for LSU? I'm drawing a blank on.
It's
Jefferson. I can't remember his first name.
Johnny.
You got to remember that big news coming out yesterday. LSU's leader in sacks this year, Michael Divinity, left
Is
the
not
team
playing.
this week.
Yeah, he's not
Wow.
playing.
Did not know that. Wow.
We have
And Grant.
my
Delpit hadn't even
my personal favorite coach in college football, in Coach O.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Yeah, we gonna
I
go out
can't-
there. We're gonna compete. We're gonna compete.
The real question is here.
come to die. Said Coach O.
The real question is here. You will never hear or have never heard anybody saying this probably in the past 5 to 10 years, but I think Alabama is coming into this game with a chip on their shoulder, ranked number 2 behind LSU right now, going in
Deservedly so, I think.
coming into this game thinking, hey, we got to show them who the real daddy of the SEC is.
I'm sure they think that. Joe Burrow is also really, really good.
Joe Burrow is
amazing.
a player.
Yeah, he was always sort of just kind of meh to me. Last year when he played, I was
Yeah,
like,
he was like
you know,
cool.
He was
like,
fine.
He's a good quarterback. Yeah.
You watch him this year, I'm like, wow,
Like,
that guy's
whoa.
making NFL throws. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
He's
talking
athletic too.
Yeah, he moves
Underratedly
well.
so.
Oh,
He-
that UT game, he showed out.
Like 400 some yards passing.
and kind of like we talked on Alvin Kamara, one of Alvin Kamara's offensive coaches last year, Joe Brady, took over LSU's offense and
did.
modernized it. Because for years, as far back as I can think of, LSU had always been stuck in mud on offense. They
Yeah.
couldn't get out of the Stone Age. They come out power I formation, offset fullback, an H back and run power O's or counters, and that worked in 1970. And 2019.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And Coach O, he realized that. He saw that, and he saw that they needed to make a change. So he went and got somebody who suited, not only that would build an offense to suit his quarterback skill set and vault him into the Heisman Trophy conversation. And as of right now, is he the favorite for the Heisman? I feel like he is.
I would say he's.
I don't
If
know.
I would say it depends on this game. If he plays,
Yeah.
pretty
This is
well.
a Heisman moment game for
yeah,
sure.
like
This
if
is a
he
Heisman
if he
moment
balls
game
out,
for
I
sure.
believe I don't. Jalen Hurts cannot.
No, you mean Tua?
elevate. Tua, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. Justin Fields,
I-
any of them, I don't believe they'll elevate if he plays well.
I think it's Justin Fields to lose right now.
Really?
I mean, Ohio
Yeah,
State's
Justin-
unbeaten.
Is he even the best? Is he even like the
He's
top
been-
Heisman candidate on
Justin-
their team?
He's
low
been
key,
putting
Chase-
has been very good.
Chase Young
Oh.
might be ahead of him on the Heisman ballot. That's how good Chase Young is.
I don't know.
But see,
he's a defensive player.
if only Chase Young could throw the football, because I mean,
You're
if-
right.
if they put him
when
in
it-
tight end and
Yeah.
threw it to him a few
Yeah.
times,
everybody
maybe.
loves to talk about defensive players, running backs coming into the Heisman race, but I mean, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, those Heisman voters are looking for touchdown passes.
yeah, and big wins.
They like
you're
video
at the
game
end,
numbers.
I'm telling you, you're probably not getting that many touchdown passes.
We're thinking about Jadeveon Clowney, who was like a literal freak, about as freaky as a freak is gonna get.
Yeah.
A freaky
Had-
freak.
Yeah.
And he did he even?
Super
I believe
freak.
he got a few Heisman, like one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know that he was as productive as Chase Young's been, but anyway, back to LSU, Bama. We kind of went off on a tangent there. The one matchup that I'm thrilled to watch, LSU has a 5-star recruit playing corner who is probably the best corner in the nation already, named Derek Stingley.
Yep.
Alabama has the best crop of receivers.
Judy.
Has the best crop of receivers in college football, and since I can't remember a group that was better. Maybe Jarvis and Odell is up there from LSU a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't have a third guy like Alabama does. Like
And
they
a
got
fourth
Devin
and a
Smith
fifth.
and Waddle's really good. Like
Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs is a stud. These
fly.
guys are like two of them are surefire first round pick. Judy
Yeah.
is top 5.
Oh yeah.
Ruggs is top 15. Devontae Smith will be taken somewhere later on, and Waddle can't come out yet, but he'll be a guy who's picked
Yeah.
really high as well. Excuse me. So I'm really excited to see these LSU DBs, DBU as they like to refer to themselves as,
yeah.
and they have a lot of good ones. Grant Delpit is
he is a player.
All-American safety. Derek Stingley, who's going to be an All-American this year. So ultimately, I think that's going to be what determines the outcome of this game. I know it's going to sound crazy, but an LSU-Alabama game, this one is going to be high scoring.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I was just
Yes,
about
yes,
to say, it's so funny because past past matchups that we've seen between LSU and Alabama, it's always been kind of defensive stalwarts. Who's going to score the least amount of points?
This is football in 2019, baby. This is
But
how we do it
this, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the overall score breaks 80 this game, like the combined score between the
now.
two
You know,
teams.
I don't have it on me, but I'm curious what the over/under is, and I would bet. I don't know what it is, but I will probably
over.
take the over.
Bet the over.
Yeah, always.
Always.
Life's too short to bet the under. Yeah, I've heard that before. Okay, so I'm gonna go around the room. We're all three gonna go. I want you to pick the game and give me the score. Van, you go first.
Okay. For Alabama LSU,
Yep.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 42-35 Bama.
You're a Bama fan, right?
Roll Tide, baby.
Okay, we needed to share that information just to give a little context.
But I even unbiased taking my Bama.
That's fair.
fandom out of
It's
it.
being played in
I
Tuscaloosa.
believe Alabama will win. I believe they have more. I believe they have more talent. Just overall, their entire team, I believe, is more
Yeah.
talented, and I think they'll win.
Jeremy?
Reese, I got to tell you, I put a lot of thought to this. In my mind, the football gods, how college football works, I'm calling for a crazy ending on this.
Ooh,
I'm calling
little kick
for-
six action.
Oh, we're talking Alabama wins off of a blocked field goal return in the final seconds of the game.
Wow.
I'm calling
Holy cow.
41-35, Roll Tide.
Yeah, baby.
Well, as much as I would love to pick my guy Coach O, the game's being played in Tuscaloosa.
That's another thing.
Tua, I have a football crush on Tua. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. I think he's a Russell Wilson starter kit. And that's saying something because Russell Wilson might be the best quarterback in football right now.
Yeah.
So I'll go Alabama, unfortunately, 35-32.
We'll see about that running game too.
Yeah.
because Najee Harris is a player.
Yeah.
We'll see
Oh,
how
yeah.
they do that.
Moving on. So we're gonna go through some of the top games of this weekend slate. Next up, we have James Franklin and the Fighting Nittany Lions of Penn State versus Minnesota. Minnesota.
We are Penn State.
Minnesota. So Jeremy, I want your pick for this game. Who you taking?
Ooh,
This is number what number is Minnesota?
This- Looking at our big board, it's number
13
5 versus number
versus
13
5.
this week.
Okay, so you got 13 or you got
is it
5? Who
Happy
you rolling
Valley, I
with?
believe? I believe it's in
Undefeated
Happy
Minnesota, undefeated Penn State.
As much as I love the Golden Gophers, I just like what they're doing at Penn State right now. I think I don't think they absolutely take them behind the woodshed, but I do think that they win by 2 scores. I'm calling for
Is that
this.
a beaver pun?
Taking behind the
Is that a
woodshed.
gopher pun?
I was not going for that, but maybe subliminally in the back
Yeah.
of my mind, I was thinking that.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I think Penn State wins by 2 touchdowns here. I think they go. Up 28-14.
Okay.
Beat the Golden Gophers.
Van, what you got?
I've always been pretty good at picking upsets,
Mhm.
having guts, just like a gut feeling. I believe this is whoever's the home team, I believe is a win. Is it
Okay.
Penn State?
I'm not sure. I think it's Minnesota.
If it's Minnesota, I believe Minnesota's going to win. If it's Penn State, I think Penn State's going to win. Score, it's Big
Justine,
Ten.
could you check that for us?
I hate Big Ten games.
Minnesota, Penn State.
Because they're all cold and boring, in my opinion, other than Ohio State. And everybody loves to lose against Iowa. for
Yeah,
some
they
reason.
do. They do.
And so I'm going to go if Penn State is at home.
Where's it
Where's
at,
it at?
Justine?
Where's the game at?
It's in Minnesota, so
Okay.
I think the score
Taking
is
Minnesota?
going to be I would go 21-35 Minnesota.
Oh wow.
20. Wow.
Yeah. Cause I just see big games, especially if it's at night. I
Big
believe
Ten
it's at
games
night.
get Big Ten. Yeah, it's the ABC
If it's
game.
night,
Yeah, it's the ABC
night
game.
games, when it's just it's just something different.
Yeah, I'm
Watch
gonna.
out, watch out, Ohio State. Maryland's coming for you this week.
I'm going Minnesota as well in a close
my
one.
God.
Have
PJ,
we
I'm
slept
a
both
Florida.
times?
I'm a Florida State fan. Times are tough, but Minnesota's
Willie
coach.
Taggart's gone.
Yep, Minnesota's coach PJ Fleck is a hot name for that job, so I'm pulling for my future head coach and PJ
Oh,
Fleck.
okay.
Minnesota's gonna win 24-20.
Okay.
A little
So-
closer.
So next up we got Baylor and TCU. Undefeated Baylor, as we mentioned earlier.
TCU coming off that hot win against Texas.
Oh, they lost this week. They played Oklahoma State and lost.
Oh, they lost this
Yeah,
week?
they lost this
Oh,
week. My
wow.
brother goes to TCU, so I've been
Interesting.
dealing with it. Yeah,
They've just been having an up and down season this week.
I think
Do you think that Texas game was just?
it was a fluke.
You think so?
TCU is a
TCU is literally an
spectacularly
up and down,
average football team.
up and down program.
Spectacularly average.
Yes,
There we
that is
have it.
that's who TCU is. So I'm gonna go. I think Baylor falters this week. Saying that, I was just talking about how average they are. Baylor's performance against West Virginia doesn't exactly inspire confidence. And TCU I think is good enough and has enough to beat Baylor. So I'm gonna go TCU in the upset.
Max Duggan has to play amazing because
Yeah.
I've seen that defensive line. I forgot the guy's name, but he has dreads and he's a D tackle and he's a monster. And
For Baylor or TCU?
for Baylor,
Baylor.
It's for Baylor.
Sean
So
Oakman.
I'm gonna roll Baylor with this one. Baylor, they're like, look, we need to be undefeated against OU. We have to if we want a chance. And
That's their. They have to win out to have a small chance.
yeah, and I believe
Making
that-
the playoff, and that's still probably not going to be enough.
And I believe Matt Rule is one of those coaches that
He's a
will,
terrific
will
coach.
not let his players play down. I do
That's
not
a good-
believe
yeah, I
he
agree with
will allow that.
Jeremy.
So I'm gonna go Baylor.
Jeremy, what you got?
This one's a hard one for me because, TCU up and down season like we just talked about 2 weeks ago, win against Texas. This week lost against Oklahoma State. I gotta go Baylor on this one, because I think it could be a trap game because coming up this is the hardest part of Baylor's season so
Yeah.
far. They still have Texas and they still have Oklahoma to play, but I think Baylor brings this one out. I don't think it's going to be that close really. I'm calling for it. I'm gonna say 42-21. Baylor doubles them up.
Okay. On to Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Strange things happen in Ames, Iowa, but this one is in Norman.
Wait, Oklahoma?
Oklahoma or Oklahoma State?
Oh, did I say Oklahoma State? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oklahoma versus
Okay,
Iowa
okay,
State
okay,
in
okay.
Norman. Sorry.
Yep.
Like I said, strange things happen in Ames, Iowa. We saw Baker Mayfield go up there and look like NFL Baker Mayfield whenever he was
Tough.
at Oklahoma.
Burn.
Sorry, Baker, if you're listening. So I'm gonna go Oklahoma big at home. I'll say 48-24.
Oof.
Van, what you got for me?
I like Iowa State as a team. They're sort of like the better version of TCU, up and down. But I'm gonna have to go with my guy, with Jalen Hurts. I'm following my guy, Jalen Hurts. He's a family friend. And
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
My dad knows his dad really
Yeah,
well. Well,
name dropping.
actually, my dad's friend knows his dad, like they're best friends. So just kind of in conjunction, my dad's been hanging around that circle, and they kind of
That's
know
awesome.
each other.
Strong connections here at No Cap.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Van was
I've kind
flexing.
of following Jalen since the dread days of Alabama. I love
Yeah.
Jalen, so I'm gonna have to go Oklahoma. No bias though. I do believe OU's gonna win in Norman.
Yeah.
They're like, look, we just lost to Kansas State, y'all.
Yeah, they're gonna bounce
We
back.
cannot lose 2 in a row.
They're gonna
We're
bounce
OU.
back. Write it down.
Yep.
If you're listening,
so unbiased,
watching,
completely
write
unbiased.
it down.
I believe Oklahoma's gonna win. I'm gonna go 50 burger, 52
Whoa.
to 35.
I
OU's
said-
defense is kind of
Little suspect.
so 52-35.
Jeremy, what you got?
Cyclones. The Big 12
Is awful.
is just haunted by Iowa State because I feel like every year, whenever there's a chance for one of the teams to get out of the Big 12, separate themselves from the pack, go on to play for the national championship, Cyclones are
Iowa
right
State.
there.
Oklahoma State.
They love to
7-11.
play spoiler.
Cyclones.
They love to play spoiler.
I would say the Cyclones would rather spoil another team's chance
Oh
than
my.
win their own national championship. Saying all that,
That is their natty.
Saying all that, Oklahoma's gonna stomp them this week, 56-14.
56-14. Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
Jalen's not holding back.
Moving on to the other half of the Red River rivalry, we have Kansas State and Texas.
I will be attending to
Another tie-in to No Cap. We have Van's dad, Mr. Malone,
that. Yep.
will be coaching on the sideline for Kansas
I
State
will
that
actually
game.
be at that game.
Really?
Yes, I will be
So
driving
Van,
down
I'm going to
Austin.
test your allegiances here. Who you picking in this game?
This is gonna be. It's very tough because
You can't pick Texas and then go home and your dad
that's
watches
true.
this.
That's true. But he will also understand I have to be completely unbiased.
That's true,
And
that's
give
true.
my analytical opinion. Texas wins in my brain. In my brain, if I put money somewhere, I believe Texas.
But
wins.
your heart is saying K-State.
Of course, I would love K-State to win.
Yeah.
But Texas, because AJ Parker, who is the starting quarterback for Kansas State, low key has been having a really good season. Watching
Yeah.
all their games, he drops an interception a game. Like that's how he's in position all the time.
So
He's got to
him-
make the catch.
yeah.
But he fractured his fibula against Kansas, so he will not be playing.
Against Colin Johnson. That's
Against
pretty
Col-
tough.
exactly,
Yeah, Colin
against Colin
Johnson
Johnson,
and
against
Duvernay.
Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, Duvernay.
So I believe that will be the
The ultimate. Okay.
The ultimate
That's,
factor.
That makes
believe-
sense.
I think Texas is going to win. Kansas State defense still very, very disciplined. Texas defense, they have their moments of playing, wow, look at this defense, and they have the moments where it's like, hide your eyes. It's not looking good. So I will go Texas. I'm going to say 28-7.
Ooh.
I'll say 28-7.
Jeremy.
You know, Texas this whole year has just been, they've just had amazing games. Like, and I think this is going to be another one of those. I see this game going into not one, but probably 2 overtimes.
Whoa.
I can see that as well.
I could see it going into. I could see it going into a couple overtimes.
Skylar Thompson's played well.
At that point, you know it's a toss up, but I gotta throw it to Texas. I don't think they lose again after losing to TCU a couple weeks ago. Obviously this week, I believe they had the bye this week.
Texas or K-State?
Texas.
Who did they play?
I think so.
I believe they had a bye this week.
Yeah.
You know, having that extra time mulling over a loss really puts a fire under your butt, you know?
It does.
So I don't
Yeah,
think
it definitely does.
I think it's going to be a close one. I think Texas pulls it out. Let's go 31-28.
Give me Kansas State 27-23.
If Skylar Thompson plays like he's played 7 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games, we'll see.
Moving on, tonight we have for the first time this year we have the college football playoff standings being revealed.
Mhm.
That'll be at halftime of the Champions Classic, which we will touch on later. I want to go around the room and get your predictions, not for necessarily tonight, but what things will look like at the end of the year whenever we find out the 4 teams who are going to wind up being in. So 1, predict them, and then 2, give me the 4 that you would like to see.
Okay.
Van, Jeremy, I don't whichever one, go first.
You go, Jeremy.
Looking at the big board right here, we were talking about this before the show, and I don't know. Like, if Alabama loses tonight and Penn State wins, I still don't know if Penn State's going to be in the top 4 if Alabama wins out the rest of the season. I could see there's so much SEC love going on. I could see 2 teams from the SEC ending up in the college football playoff. I think Ohio State, Clemson are locks right now. I mean, I don't see anybody beating Ohio State. I mean, you know, you got some tough games that they'll have to play later on. Gonna have to play Penn State probably in the
Michigan. Is
Michigan,
Michigan
yeah.
tough?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is Michigan tough?
They
see.
don't seem to be for Ohio State.
But I mean, you see that, you know, Clemson's not losing with their schedule.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
So they're a lock. But I mean, really, I say the winner of tonight, whether it's Alabama, LSU, I think Alabama's going to win. LSU, maybe they can hold on, win the rest of their games. And I think, especially if Alabama wins tonight, LSU wins the rest of their games, especially if it's close. I say that we don't see any changes. I mean, maybe we see some seeding changes. Ohio State maybe bumping up to number 2, Alabama bumping up to number 1, Clemson up to 3, and LSU goes down to 4. But I really think where it's at right now, as long as LSU doesn't lose another game, or Alabama, whoever loses the game this weekend, but I really think where it's at right now is going to be where it is at the end. I mean, you know, you got the Pac-12 and the Big 12 kind of vying for.
They're not getting anybody in.
Yeah.
They're not getting anybody in.
But I mean,
It is what it is. I'm sorry.
I'd say my final 4 be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU,
In
and
that
then
order?
in that order, LSU, Alabama, round number 2 for who's going to the national
I was going to
championship.
say, obviously, it depends on the outcome of Saturday's game.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's so, like, there's so many scenarios that are going to, like, spawn based off of what happens in that game.
Yeah.
Like, if LSU wins, then they're going to go to the SEC championship and say they meet Georgia, and Georgia beats LSU. Then what happens? You've got 3 one-loss SEC teams.
Oh my goodness.
Georgia's the SEC champion, but they don't have near the strength of schedule that Alabama or LSU have. There's so many wild outcomes that could stem from what happens in that game. That being said, I do believe in the idea of getting the 4 best teams in the game in the playoff.
Yes.
Obviously, the resume has to permit it, but in terms of like a tiebreaker, I'm going to go off the eye test. And to me, the 4 teams that are currently in are the 4 best teams. Clemson being the clear-cut wink link. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. Believe it or not.
I do
too.
Believe
I do
that or
too.
not. LSU and Alabama are a toss-up for me. I think Clemson almost resembles last year's Notre Dame team. They've played a weak schedule. they're a really good team. They're better than that Notre Dame team because obviously they beat the brakes off them last year.
Trevor Lawrence, though, baby.
He hasn't played well.
Sunshine.
He played kinda.
He hasn't played. Yeah,
Kinda mid.
he's played well.
Sunshine.
He's incredible talent, and they have talent all over that team, especially on offense. But their defense, in particular their defensive line, isn't quite what it once was. They had all those first-round picks.
Yeah.
Christian Wilkins, Cleveland Farrell, Dexter Lawrence. They had all those guys go in the first round. So they don't have nearly the firepower on defense that they once did. And with Trevor Lawrence kind of riding a roller coaster this year, kind of up and down, to me, they look like the clear-cut weak link. And I think whoever they see at that number 1 spot, they're going to get knocked out. But I think as of right now, the 4 teams look correct, and those are the 4 teams that I would personally want to see.
Yeah. Clemson's not going to lose, and the rest of
No.
the schedule, they're not going to lose. They play a weak schedule. I've been looking ahead. That Iron Bowl game, that Iron Bowl game
Yeah.
is kind of scary for Bama.
Yeah, it always is.
It always is, and Bo Nix is just one of those guys.
He is not
just-
good, but he
but
finds
one
a
of
way.
those guys.
Yeah, that's a
He's
good way to
one
put
of
it.
those guys. It's just like
That Auburn win
golly.
against Oregon earlier this season, that was an awful throw.
I was
that he
wa-
got
no,
for that touchdown.
You know, he caught it and he scored, and it's like Bo Nix. Bo Nix.
He sounds like
what a name.
That's an Auburn quarterback name. Bo
He's just
Nix.
one of those guys. It's just like,
That's a good way to put it.
and if they lose, if Alabama loses that game, Clemson could bump to 3. But like you guys said, it honestly, the 4 in LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, they're in. Now, when obviously somebody has to lose, LSU versus Alabama, I believe the winner of that game is going to move up to 1. Ohio State will come to 2. The loser will come to 3, and then Clemson will stay at 4.
I have a quick question for y'all. So, say LSU loses this game tonight, going for the rest of the season, they don't lose another game. You got a 1-loss LSU team. If Oklahoma wins out the rest of their games, wins the Big 12 championship, 1-loss Oklahoma, 1-loss LSU, who's getting in?
One loss LSU,
LSU.
times a million. They've
Oklahoma
beaten.
hasn't
They've
played
beaten
anybody.
Auburn, Florida. In this
Texas.
Are you saying they lose to Alabama? That's their loss.
Yeah.
Okay, then either
Okay.
that they're going to lose to Alabama or they're going to lose to Georgia. That's way less horrible than, I'm sure your dad's a wonderful man, than losing to Kansas State.
It is. No, it is. It is.
But I'm just
It
saying,
is.
would we not want to see the Jalen Hurts revenge tour end with a game against Alabama in
I'm
the college
sure-
football
I love
playoff?
it.
I
would
would love
love it,
that.
but
I
it's
would.
not gonna
I would love
happen.
that, but it's not going to happen.
gonna happen.
Oklahoma's season was doomed. Now, the more Kansas State wins, the better that looks
Yes.
for Oklahoma.
Like if
I
Kansas,
think that's
like if
the
Kansas,
best case scenario.
Yeah.
if K-State
goes
wins
10-2.
out, if K-State wins out, Oklahoma wins out,
but that means they would play each other in the
They-
Big 12 championship,
and then
that,
Oklahoma
that
wins
wouldn't-
that.
They
Still
might
no.
come up to
Still no.
their cap is about 6. A 5 or 6 is their cap.
That was just like that meme. The girl see that.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
There's just I just don't think there's any sort of like all these teams in front of them would have
They'd
to
have to lose.
They'd have to falter at some point.
Utah might lose. Oregon may be good for another loss. That's it.
Pac-12 gets no love.
They don't deserve it.
Deservedly so.
They don't deserve it.
Oregon's a good team, and they're the best they have to offer. They're not a great team. They're the best they have to offer. So anyway, that's all we have for college football. Stick around with us. We'll be back after this. We're going to send it over to Gavin Dunway with a quick UNT sports update.
Welcome to the first ever Scrappy Cap segment where we talk about the latest in UNT athletics. Now, first off, we'll take a quick look at the football team. It was homecoming for UNT last Saturday, and the Mean Green did not disappoint with a dominant 52-26 win over the UTEP Miners. Now, Mason Fine, wow. He had an enormous game, throwing for over 300 yards and 7 touchdowns. That puts Fine at over 12,000 passing yards in his college career, surpassing superstar quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes. Now, speaking of enormous, Fine celebrated in a T-Rex costume at the post-game press conference in the Halloween spirit. T-Rex was a great choice, I'm going to be honest with you, but if I had to pick one, I may go as Mason Fine, honestly, because that guy, wow, what a game. But anyway, in other sports news, the men's basketball team will begin their season tonight against the Oklahoma Christian Eagles. Now, last year, the Mean Green got off to a hot start, winning 8 games off the jump. However, late season injuries led to them finishing 21-12 overall. Now, the team features some of its key players from last year, including Umoja Gibson, Zachary Simmons, and DJ Draper, while adding a slew of new promising transfers like James Reese, who previously played for a Buffalo team that reached the second round of the NCAA tournament. The game tonight starts at 7 p.m. in the Super Pit. Make sure you keep on listening as the guys in the studio will talk about college basketball and the NBA season.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to No Cap. I'm still here with my guys, Van Malone, Jeremy Beedling.
No cap.
And we talked about the Champions Classic, and they're going to reveal some of the college football playoff rankings. Now we're going to talk about the games that sandwich those playoff rankings. And we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, I mean, it gets no better than this if you're a college basketball fan.
Yeah. Laying it all out there to start the season.
The bluest of the blue bloods. We do this every year. Every year they do these 4 teams. They meet up. Mm-hmm. They usually do it in Chicago. I think they're in MSG this year. These 4 teams meet up and they play each other. I think this is the first time we've had 1, 2, 3, and 4, surprisingly. And these are, like I said, these are the bluest of the blue bloods. We got UK and Michigan State. Michigan State's a popular team to win it all. They're the number 1 team in the country. Returning cash is Winston. And then Duke, obviously a loaded recruiting class. And
As
Kansas.
they always have.
Duke and Kansas. I'm curious, what if anything are you guys looking for specifically in this game? Because usually this time last year when I flipped on this game, I was like, I want to see Zion. I want to see Zion.
Yeah.
I want to see RJ Barrett, and I want to see Cam Reddish. Those caliber of players aren't playing for these teams. Those caliber of recruits or prospects, if you will, aren't playing in this game. So what is it that you're looking for whenever you flip to these games tonight?
I was doing a little bit of research before the show, and it's so funny because growing up, always watching Kentucky, new players every year, Mm-hmm. But
they have returners this year.
Yeah, this season they have 4 major guys who are coming back who played major minutes last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kentucky kind of works with players in the system for longer than 1 year, because it's kind of been the NBA fast track you know?
Yeah.
Before the whole recruiting class with Duke, with RJ Barrett, Zion, and Cam Reddish, that was Kentucky, Anthony Davis, John Wall,
Marcus Cousins, Bledsoe,
1 year youth.
Michael Kidd Gilchrist,
Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker.
We could go on.
Willie
But I
Cauley-Stein.
mean, this year Kentucky's really looking for some contributions from guys that they had on their team last year, and kind of along with the other teams playing tonight. Not a lot of firepower besides Duke. Obviously, we'll get to that in a second. They got some firepower coming from their recruits.
But even then, nothing like last year. There's nothing
Yeah.
like last year where Zion's a megastar on his way to being one if his health permits. There's nobody like that playing in these games.
I feel, I do have something to say about that. Cassius Stanley, been following him for a little bit. Me and you were talking about
He's
it
an
before the show. I think he's going to have a breakout season, going to be an amazing player this year. But, we just have so much Zion burnout.
Yeah.
From just over-covering college basketball last season, over-covering this, deservedly so. He's a phenomenal athlete. But, coming into this year, when you don't have somebody doing backflip 360 between the leg dunks, don't get me wrong, Cassius Stanley can get up there.
He's
he
got
can get up
bounce.
there. But when you don't see a almost 300-pound man doing that, it's kind of hard to get as excited as you did last year.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to take away from this season. I think this season of college basketball every year of college basketball is going to be amazing because you don't know what's going to happen. But I say just look out for those freshmen coming in at Duke. Cassius Stanley. Who are the other ones that you're talking
Wendell
about?
Moore and Vernon Carey.
Yeah.
Wendell Moore is the one I know that's getting significant draft buzz. So he's usually, whenever I watch college basketball, especially these big-time teams, that's usually what I'm looking for, which is why in this particular game, UK versus Michigan State, this guy's not really on draft. He is, but he's like a second-round guy, maybe undrafted. Cassius Winston, Michigan State's four-year point guard.
He had an amazing tournament last year.
He is the epitome of your college basketball upperclassman,
Yeah.
Student
Reminds me
athlete.
of Mike Conley.
Yeah, there's some similarities there.
Mike Conley.
He is super crafty. He's small, not explosive, but he thinks the game at a really high level. His playmaking is very noticeable. He's one of those guys, if you'll remember,
Kyle Lowry.
If you're a college basketball person, you'll remember Aaron Kraft or somebody like that. That's a 4-year player that was a good college player, limited physically. He's one of my favorites to watch. But in this game, Tyrese Maxey, freshman coming in at Kentucky, I don't know if he's going to start. I would bet he does because he's really talented. He is getting top 5 draft buzz. And I watched him play in high school. I got to go see I was covering a high school basketball tournament, and I got to watch Tyrese Maxey, and he's legit. Like if you're watching this game, tune in and check out Tyrese Maxey, and you are sure to be
I mean,
impressed.
he does have the Reese stamp of approval.
Yeah,
so.
and that's I mean,
got
there's
that.
nothing more
You're on your
valuable.
way. You're a millionaire
Yeah, there's
already.
there's nothing more valuable than the Reese stamp of approval.
Oh yeah.
Van, what you got?
I think this season more than any, I guess coming after Zion, we kind of proven that college football, we kind of need that to draw us in.
College basketball.
College basketball.
Yeah.
We need that to draw us in, that superstar to tune in to watch the games. So I believe like literally all of college basketball ratings were up last year because of one. I believe that's true. I know Duke's were for sure.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, they're always good
Um,
though.
Kansas and Duke, that game is going to be very interesting, especially with all of the new freshmen coming through with Duke, because we want to see like Cassius Stanley. I've heard he's like Zion, but he's like 50, 60 pounds lighter.
Yeah, he's a freak. He can jump
he's,
out of the
guy.
gym.
He's Zion light.
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
As far as leaping ability goes,
Exactly,
obviously,
and-
the caliber of player is obviously different.
And he's a highlight film. So
Yeah.
I'm really gonna be watching for that. UK Michigan. Obviously, these games. I've never been a huge proponent of a regular season college basketball.
I
Very
agree with
similar to the NBA. I'm waiting for kind of February,
When they mean something.
January. That's when like okay, let's
March
see what
Madness.
these exactly.
It's the best sporting event in
yeah
the world, in my opinion.
It connects us all as Americans,
Yeah.
sports
Yeah.
fans.
So boys, I just really wanted to just point out the elephant in the room. What about that KU scandal?
Ooh, I loved because
Took it long
we've
enough.
talked about the NCAA and that was the thing we led in with. So I think the listeners and viewers know exactly how we feel about the NCAA. So personally, I love that Kansas brought out Snoop Dogg and they went.
That's awesome.
They went
As a
rated
college student?
They went rated M for their Midnight Madness. I really appreciate it. And Bill Self, of course.
Viewer discretion
I
is
don't-
advised.
I don't know what, I didn't even think of. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. But
As a
I
college
enjoyed the
student, I
petty.
loved it.
I enjoyed the petty. I got to be honest with you. I'm so numb to these kind of scandals. They pop
Happen
up
every
so
year.
often, especially in college basketball. I like if it were to like pop up on my phone, I literally just kind of like
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's kind of like at this point, it's kind of like the McRib is back. Like the
Yeah.
McRib has been back so many times. It's not even like
yeah, it's not worth like even my time at this point. But I do like Bill Self, and in my opinion, the NCAA is like super nitpicky about things. So again, I'm not super informed on it, but I will tell you that my nature is to want to side with Kansas because they probably didn't do anything too terrible.
yeah.
But somebody who's educated on the matter could probably correct me because I'm not too sure. Van, are you comfortable?
Yeah, I mean Kansas. Like you said, it's another scandal.
Yeah.
We'll see another one in 4 months.
Yeah, you're
I
exactly
mean,
right.
so don't do it again. Slap on the wrist.
Slap
Don't do
on
it
the
again.
wrist,
At,
exactly.
Come on.
at this point, the NCAA is just kind of super nannying these coaches. Just like,
Yeah.
all right, Bill Self, you're going to need to sit in the corner for 4 games.
Yeah.
And kind of think about what you've done.
Yeah, exactly.
You were gifted a box of Nikes, so we're gonna suspend your eligibility for a year.
NCAA.
And more than anything, and I think Van kind of touched on this earlier, college basketball. And basketball is my favorite sport, so I'm always down to watch college basketball. But the product versus the college versus the NBA in terms of the quality of basketball that's being played, there's a noticeable difference, and that's obvious. The NBA players, they're professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've honed their craft.
They
They're
get
grown,
paid for it, you know?
They're grown men. Like the difference between the two is so significant
Oh man.
that I wonder. Like I can't imagine college basketball ratings are very good. I don't think there's
They're
a whole
not.
lot of mainstream appeal.
There's a lot of teams, and frankly, a lot of the games just look the same. And it's like some basketball teams, for example, I don't know, Colorado versus USC.
Yeah, that's a yearly matchup, by the way, in the Pac-12.
Probably, if I had to put my money, it'd be the same as last year and the year
Yeah.
before, and the game coming on an hour
But I mean,
later.
you know there's going to be those highlight games throughout the year. Every year, looking forward to UNC Duke.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's the best
Yeah,
rivalry in
of course,
sports.
of course.
That's
We're-
more the exception than the rule. ACC basketball in general is awesome.
But I mean,
I love
still,
ACC
but still,
basketball.
we still have some other, kind of like college football, Alabama, LSU. We still have some other big name matchups throughout the year. Like Michigan State, obviously, is very good. But looking at our big board right now, Michigan's not ranked at the moment. And I mean, coming up, those two teams hate each other. So you got to think Michigan basketball's looking to take down number 1.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see tonight for sure. I don't know really what to expect. College basketball is kind of a crapshoot, especially when you get in the tournament.
I will say this though, you're good for upsets.
Yeah.
About every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About every
it
2
usually
weeks, you're
happens.
good for a top 5 upset.
I
So
remember-
you just gotta pick your games to watch.
Yeah.
You never know.
I remember watching Duke in the first game. I was like, is anybody going to beat them? Could they beat
Exactly.
the Cavaliers? You know, they're like people started that way too early ridiculous conversation that we do every year. So yeah, I mean, parity is everywhere in college
Yeah.
basketball. That's what makes the tournament so much fun.
Yeah.
And that's why the tournament, while the regular season is dull at times, the postseason in college basketball is the
Legendary.
best. There's nothing better than March Madness.
Oh, sitting on your couch in your
For
pajamas,
hours
All
on
day,
end.
watching the bracket like
Yeah.
a hawk.
Yeah.
or ordering food on whatever app service you choose, and just watching basketball
Honestly,
all day.
for me, it'll be streaming in class. Sitting in the back of
Me too.
class.
Me too.
Streaming.
Oh, I'm
Wicked.
skipping class.
So so we're gonna shift gears and go to the NBA. We're about 2 weeks in as Jeremy flaunts his James Harden jersey. What's he shooting from the field this year?
Like -4%.
Not,
right?
not very good so far, but hey, it's been an adjustment. You know, Russell Westbrook and him coming back together, fringy reunited, Thunder buddies.
Thunder buddies.
And they're coming out this season. It's working out some kinks still, but I love the intensity that I'm seeing, especially in closer games this season. Like the connection between them two, you know, it's not like any other player that James Harden's played with. Even CP3, they had a great connection, but you don't see two teammates getting so excited for each other since, I would say, Wade LeBron. And I mean, every time Harden assists on a Westbrook dunk, you can see that little grin behind the beard hairs. You can see that little grin kind of pop up.
So I guess that answers the question I was about to ask about everybody's favorite early season trends. Like everybody's got a favorite team or a favorite player, especially in the NBA. Everybody has more so than teams now. They have favorite players, you know, guys
Yeah.
that they follow
Yeah.
around. So I was going to go around the room, and I guess that'll count as your answer, Jeremy. What are some of your
Full
favorite?
disclosure, I am a Miami Heat fan first, Houston Rockets fan
You
second.
hate to see
so
that. You
that's
really
just
do.
kind of my biases out right there. But really, I'm loving the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh.
How about
Unfortunately.
this team?
What a-
Devin Booker putting up 40,
Yeah.
beating the 76ers.
5-2.
What a hot start, no pun intended.
And no DeAndre Ayton. Now,
Yeah.
it's the Suns. It's 82. How many games do they have? Like 77 games left, something like that.
I think 75 games. I
Something
think.
like that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of games left, so I'm tempering my expectations.
You a big
I'm-
Devin Booker guy?
I love Devin Booker.
Do you?
I love Devin Booker. In 2K, I'm a big rebuild guy. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
let's
like doing that
rebuild
too,
the
yeah.
Suns, man. Give me a bunch of let's go. Let me get LaMelo Ball. Take the I love what the Suns are doing. They're heading in the right direction finally after like 11 million years. They can stop tanking. Maybe.
Officially 11
I'll tell you what.
11 million.
Obviously,
too.
it's early. We're not even 3 weeks into the season. Monty Williams has got to be the leader in the clubhouse for Coach of the Year.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be. Another guy who you could potentially put in the Coach of the Year is the head coach of my Dallas Mavericks, Rick Carlisle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and
They
that
look
is
really
in
good.
large part because they have found a franchise player. Luka. He's almost averaging a triple-double right now. He's averaging 27, 10, and he's about a half an assist away from a triple-double. I got to be honest with you, I was high on him coming out. Like, whenever I put together my big board of that draft, which is a really good draft, by the way, he was number 2 for me behind Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he could be good. I thought he was like one of those like really high floor guys, maybe not crazy high ceiling.
Yeah.
Like
It's the opposite.
A popular comp for him was like Hito Turkoglu, and I really like that.
Oh, Hito.
He is
Y'all remember
so
him?
much better than I could have ever imagined. He is surgical picking apart defenses.
Gotta step back against
he,
LeBron.
He can, yeah.
Golly.
Anthony Davis too. He can make every read. He can deliver every pass with timing, accuracy, touch, all the above. He's a shot maker, big time shot maker in the clutch. He was that last year when his first year in the league. People said, "Oh, he can't create separation." That's bogus. Anybody could get it. It was Anthony Davis. It was LeBron. It was Avery Bradley. Cleveland. I think he scored 27 on like 16 shots. He's like 10 for 16 from the field.
Efficient.
He is special.
He's a great
special.
player.
Like the fact that as a Mavericks fan, I'm so blessed that I got 21 years of Dirk, and then the season Dirk hangs him up,
Oh my God.
Y'all.
we transition into Luka. Like there are teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Sacramento
They're like
Kings
the Colts.
who
Like,
go.
you have Peyton Manning.
They
and
go.
Andrew Luck.
It's Favre to Rodgers all
Yeah,
over
I
again
mean-
is what it is.
I
Unbelievably, like there are teams that go rebuilding and searching for that guy for decades,
And you guys signed
And the
him 1
Mavericks,
year.
as Dirk is going out, the next guy comes in.
And I gotta say, even though the Mavericks are my third favorite team from the state of Texas, I do have to say, Donnie Nelson came to visit UNT last week.
God bless that man.
Got to talk to him for a little bit. Got to hear some wise words of wisdom from him, talking about the Mavericks. He explained his first time seeing Luka Doncic in person, and just knowing from the get, that's our guy. He knew the whole draft process, everything. I'm surprised the Mavericks stayed that quiet because I really didn't think that
They're usually pretty mum about.
Yeah. I
what
really
they have
didn't.
in
I
the
really
works.
didn't think they were gonna pull the trigger and try to move and get Luka. But he said from the moment he saw him, he said that's who we're drafting,
Yeah,
and he knew. And it's funny because it's like their whole careers, him and Trae Young are connected because they were traded for each other, obviously. And Trae Young, sad to see he's out with an ankle injury. I believe
he's coming
right
back
now.
tonight.
He's
Yeah,
coming back
coming
tonight.
back
Okay.
tonight.
He'll play.
So hopefully he'll get back on track for the rest of the season. But it's just amazing. They trade for each other, and you rarely see this in sports, but it worked out so
Both teams
beautifully
won.
for
Yeah.
both teams.
won.
Yeah.
I don't know if Luka would be as good with the Hawks as he is with the Mavs, and I don't think Trae Young would be as good with the Mavs as he is with the Hawks. I think they both fit the systems they need to be
put in.
for the teams that they're at right now. And I think both teams are kind of gentleman's agreement, handshake, like good job, like we both did something good for each other.
It took a minute to get there, but yeah, they're finally there where the fan
Yeah.
bases are like, okay, yeah, your guy's pretty good too. Like we can all agree on that. But moving on, we're going to talk about some potential title contenders through the first 7 games. I want to know which teams you really like as a potential NBA Finals champion. Jeremy.
So, obviously, with the Lakers, it's just starting out West because the West has way much more star power than the East at the moment. The Lakers are one of those teams where you're just like, oh, they got LeBron, like you can never count out the LeBron. You can never count out
Really
LeBron. He's
can't.
the king. But you look over that other team playing in Staples Center, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. You got those dogs in the backcourt with
Sheesh.
Patrick Beverly,
Sheesh.
Lou Williams, got Montrezl
Landry
Harrell
Shamet.
playing his heart
Yeah,
out.
Shamit's a good one.
I
Mo
can't-
Harkless was a great
Mo Harkless.
value.
I just
trade.
can't pick against the Clips right now coming out of the
Okay.
West. It's hard, and obviously it's a very cliche pick at the moment because the Clippers got the big signees of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but barring injury, I don't see anybody stopping the Clippers in the West. I mean, even my Rockets, I love James Harden, Russell Westbrook to death, but I mean, when it comes down to it in a 7-game series,
You can't
Kawhi
pick them
Leonard-
over.
like James Harden might go off for a couple games, but Kawhi Leonard, best defender possibly in NBA history.
Ooh,
Cap, but okay.
maybe.
No cap.
I don't know. That
Hey,
I don't know that I'd agree with that.
I'm just
He's-
telling,
I-
Hakeem the
I
Dream,
respect it.
anybody?
I'm
I
just telling,
respect it.
I'm just telling you like it is. Maybe not the best in NBA history because
Perimeter defender, I would say that.
you have MJ stands who are like, hey, hold up.
Well, how
But-
about Scotty
Yeah,
or Dennis
I
Rodman.
I know, but I haven't seen in my lifetime. Obviously, I was a little kid whenever MJ won his titles, but I mean, even looking back at the footage and the stats, I mean, I haven't seen somebody in my lifetime who can shut down the best player on an opposing team as well as Kawhi Leonard can.
Van, who do you like?
I like the Clippers, but I've doubted LeBron before. I doubted LeBron when he was by himself with the Cavs the second time around. I doubted him. I was like, he's gonna lose to the Celtics. I thought he was gonna lose to the Celtics. He didn't. I've learned my lesson. LeBron, when he was with the Heat, was amazing.
Maybe the best basketball player ever.
Probably
in his run
During
with the Heat.
that was definitely
Yeah.
his prime, and I appreciate him coming to the Heat for his prime. I appreciate that. Thanks, Cleveland, for that. But gosh, it is neck and neck in the Western Conference between the two LA teams.
Yep.
I really like LA. Excuse me, that's Yeah, duh. I like the Lakers. I believe they have to add one more quote unquote ISO scorer. Somebody that can say, get the ball, go.
Mm-hmm.
They have Danny Green. You're not going to get
money.
You're not going to get
Please don't
20
remind
points from Danny Green every night. You're not. Kyle Kuzma either has to be that guy. They're kicking themselves for getting away. Bi Brandon Ingram.
I'm a Kuzma not skeptic, but I'm not as high on him as other people are.
He's got a chance this year. You know, if Brandon was on that team, I would say
no. Ingram is the better player. That was evident to me before.
He put up 40 against the Nets. Brandon Ingram is balling. He's my most improved player, front runner right now. Dude is a beast. I've always kind of liked Brandon Ingram, but I like the Lakers in the Eastern Conference. No bias. Watch out for the Heat. They're a very balanced team. They're deep. Kendrick Nunn has been playing really well.
Tyler Hero has been showing out.
He's a great shooter. Jimmy Butler is going to have to play the best basketball of his career in order for the Heat to get a top 4, top 5 seed. The Bucks, they've kind of looked a little mediocre without Giannis. I mean, obviously he's Giannis, but the Bucks, it's kind of like y'all were cool. It's a flash pan. Y'all were cool for a year. Now everybody's caught up to you.
Yeah.
The Sixers have gotten bigger. The Heat have added depth. So it's going to be interesting, but I like the Lakers.
The East is kind of a crapshoot for me. I still think I trust Milwaukee the most. I don't like Philly's roster construction.
Oh, see,
Josh Richardson is the X factor.
He's nice. Josh Richardson, they don't have enough shooting.
But see,
they're not going to be able to score in the postseason. I really worry about that.
I'm the opposite. I know I didn't really touch on the East that much whenever I was talking, but out of the Eastern Conference, I really like the 76ers. I mean, I think adding Al Horford's one of those things that it might not go, not be highlighted throughout the season, but whenever it's postseason time,
he'll step up.
He is one of the best big men on switching on defense. He can really defend all 5 positions, and I think that really helps them, especially with a big guy like Joel Embiid. You don't want him switching on a guard. But I think especially if they want to go small ball at some points in the game, even though Embiid is undoubtedly their best player at the moment, I think during playoff time, switching it to small ball, letting Al Horford run the 5, I think that gives them a better chance to play with some of these teams where they kind of forced Embiid in those playoff games. We all know Embiid's history with his conditioning. So I think adding Al Horford really propels the 76ers to be my title favorites out of the East.
It's not that I don't like Al Horford's terrific, and you're exactly right about him in the postseason. He has no holes in his game, so that's when people start to get exposed, is in the playoffs when teams have a chance to scout you and plan for you, and they can expose the weaknesses of the holes in your game. Al Horford has none of those, so it doesn't. That's why he looks so much better in the playoffs than he does in the regular season.
Exactly.
But you talked about going small. It's not conceivable to me to go small when you don't have shooters. Josh Richardson, who I like a lot, he's up and down as a shooter. He's not a great shooter. Ben Simmons, obviously, we know about Ben Simmons.
Oh, he hit a 3.
He hit a 3.
He hit a 3 that one time, right? That tells you everything you need to know about Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid is not a very good shooter. Horford is up and down. He's capable, but for the most part, they don't have a ton of guys. Losing J.J. Redick, I think, was so significant for them. They traded away Shamet for Tobias Harris, who's a good player. He's not, an elite player.
So if they can add a 3-point shooter before the trade deadline, would that kind of change your mind on that?
It would certainly make me reconsider, yes.
Low key, what if they go after D'Angelo Russell?
That'd be a good one. I like maybe a little cheaper.
That would be dirty.
Maybe a little. They need a perimeter ball handler scorer to take some of the load off of Ben Simmons, because whenever your primary ball handler has no range outside of 8 feet, then it really limits your offense. So they need another guy like that. I remember last year, and I don't know that he was ever technically available, but a guy like Bradley Beal would have been awesome for them.
Oh, Zach LaVine, maybe.
Kemba would have been a great one.
Going back to what Van said, I know this isn't going to happen. 99% sure this isn't going to happen. But if you were the GM of the 76ers,
Elton Brand.
Would you, Elton Brand,
former Maverick?
If you were Elton Brand, be a lot prettier. But if you were Elton Brand, would you accept a trade straight up Ben Simmons for D'Angelo Russell?
Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. D'Angelo Russell, I like him. I do think he's a little overrated.
You were just talking mess about your boy Ben Simmons not being able to shoot.
Well, he can't shoot.
But he's amazing.
He's still better
at everything else.
still better at basketball than look, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is a weird fit. I think Ben Simmons might be better off used in like a Siakam or Draymond type role where he's not your full-time point guard. But for that to be feasible, they would need a guy like D'Angelo Russell. That is a perimeter scorer, playmaker, initiator, whatever you want to call him, to really kind of maximize Ben Simmons and that entire roster. That being said, I don't think any of the team, whichever team comes out of these, I don't think they're going to beat either of the LA teams.
No.
Oh, no.
I think
No.
coming into the year, I think Anthony Davis and LeBron to me were probably the most potent duo, and that still might be the case. I will tell you this: LeBron doesn't look as explosive to me as he has in years past.
I don't know.
He's 35.
Yeah, no, it's natural. Father Time is undefeated.
I mean, but still, that dunk against the Mavericks late game.
Oh, if he gets ahead of steam, he's still. There's nothing.
No one's getting in his way.
It's his short area quickness that to me doesn't look quite the same.
I can see that.
Which I think in a half court scenario in the postseason when the game kind of slows down a little bit, I think you might see that rear its head, especially against a team with wing defenders like the Clippers and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I think you could see them run into some issues with that. So I'll go with the Clippers for now as my favorite, but the Lakers are really, really good.
Oh yeah.
But we're getting a little tight on time right now, so we're gonna go ahead and pass it over to our guy Josh Siegel with Beyond the Blue Line for our hockey update.
The Dallas Stars, after an abysmal 1-7-1 start to the season, have now won 6 of their last 7 games, and now have a 7-8-1 record. And just 3 points out of a playoff spot. Tonight they play against Colorado, who has been a very good team, but right now is missing their 2 most important players, Mikko Rantanen and Gabriel Landeskog. Meanwhile, out east, the New York Islanders head into tonight's matchup versus Ottawa, arguably the worst team in the league, having won 9 straight, sitting 1 point ahead of Carolina in the Metro Division. Now, Carolina hopes to jump the Islanders tonight with a win against Philadelphia. But again, the New York Islanders are playing the Ottawa Senators, so that may not happen even if they win. Pittsburgh is idle tonight, but I don't know, there have been concerning signs with them. They just lost to Boston 6-4. They came back from down to 3-0, but still lost the lead in that third period. And now with all these injuries, it looks like they may be going on a bit of a slide. They just got Malkin back, but now they've lost Patrick Hornquist. And so right now they're in a wild card spot, but just doesn't look good for them going forward. Now also showing concerning signs is Buffalo. They got off to another hot start at 8-2-1, and we were thinking, oh man, this is their year, finally. They have not made the playoffs since 2011, but they have gone winless in their last 3 and have lost 4 of their last 5 games. This may seem a bit familiar to Buffalo fans. Last year, they won 10 straight and got off to a 16-5-1 start, but ended up missing the playoffs after having a disappointing second half of the season. Now back out west, Arizona and Vancouver have surprised some people. They're now sitting 2nd and 3rd in the Pacific Division. And Arizona will face off against the struggling Calgary Flames, who are expected to be better than they are. The Vancouver Canucks will be facing off against St. Louis. And on the other end of the spectrum, though, San Jose, who is expected to be a contender, sits in last place in the West with a 4-10-1 record. Some of their star players, like Joe Thornton, who's getting older, has completely fallen off the map. And they're not getting any younger, and it will be hard for them to rebuild as they have some big contracts that will be hard to move. So really, they need to turn things around, and if they are, tonight's game against Chicago is really a must-win, even if it's this early in the season. Well, that's it for Across the Blue Line. Stay tuned as the guys will be breaking down the NFL season so far and the playoff picture after the break.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, you learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
All right, everybody, welcome back here to No Cap. We have, for our football segment, we have subbed out Justine, our friend Justine Chavez, for Van.
He at the top of the head, he said, Coach, Coach, put me out, please.
Thankfully, we are trading out a Cowboys hater for a Cowboys homer as we get into our NFL segment. And we're going to start that with the Ravens at the Patriots, the Sunday night game, the creme de la creme of this week's slate, I guess you could say, with everybody's favorite player these days, Lamar Jackson, who totaled 224 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Ravens' 37-20 win over the Patriots. Jeremy, what was your biggest takeaway watching Lamar do his thing?
I gotta say, in those black jerseys,
those look so good. Those look so good.
It looks like a Bill Belichick nightmare. Like I was watching Bill Belichick's actual nightmare on the field. And it really surprised me to start off the game, watching in that first quarter. You know that first drive that they had that ended up in the Lamar Jackson touchdown run? They were running sets with only one wide receiver on the field. They were just basically lining up, stacking all their guys on the line and saying, we're running at your face, like right in your face, Patriots. And it worked. And I think like you could obviously see Dante Hightower, Bill Belichick getting so frustrated on the sidelines. Not to say Patriots are still 8-1. Right. So they're obviously going to have to see them later down in the playoffs. But I think the Ravens came out with a fire under them. They said, hey, we're in prime time. You know, a lot of people have been doubting Lamar Jackson this whole season, even after he's put up these gaudy numbers, kind of saying, oh, he's not a real quarterback. He's a running quarterback. He's not able to make the throws. And I think he proved everybody wrong and really showed the world, like, hey, I'm one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now.
Oh.
Okay.
And I said that. I said that. He is, at this point, one of the top 5 quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the league. Bill Belichick, Patriots have the number 1 defense in the NFL, and Lamar Jackson made them look silly on Sunday night.
We might need to get a breathalyzer for you, Justine. I'm gonna let you rebuttal to Jeremy's proclamation that Lamar Jackson is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
I just can't say top 5. I mean, Jeremy, why would you put him top 5?
I would say.
Is that one of those things where you didn't like it sounded great at the moment and then you go back?
I'm backing it up. Like I said, Patriots number 1 defense in the NFL, and Lamar Jackson cut through them like a hot knife through butter on Sunday night. He can make all of the plays with his feet.
He's incredible.
I mean, was multiple times on Sunday night where I saw him. I said, "Oh, that's a sack." Somehow, this man, Magic Man, comes out of nowhere, evades all of the tackles in the backfield, and I feel like really where his game has evolved this season is that he plays a lot smarter. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make those dumb plays, kind of backtracking, kind of like we've seen Kyler Murray do this season and getting sacks of 15, 20 yards. We don't really see that out of Lamar Jackson this season. And especially with the addition of Hollywood Brown as a deep threat, it's really showed off his arm of how great of a thrower he can be as well, along with his running game.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big Lamar Jackson fan as he was coming out of Louisville. Not just because I like watching him, because I actually thought he was going to be really good. And he is good. Nah, I don't know about top 5 in the NFL. I don't know about that, but I will tell you this. I was a little disappointed watching him as a thrower last year because I thought he was better than what he showed. And this year he's improved, and that's really the important thing for young quarterbacks. Just show me some growth, some improvement. He's still inconsistent with his accuracy, but he's good enough now as a thrower to win you football games. Because now, one thing I will agree with you, I think there are a lot of guys who are more prolific throwing the ball than Lamar Jackson. There may be one or two guys that are better playmakers at the quarterback position than Lamar Jackson. Did either of you ever play Madden, like in the early days?
Oh, all my life.
Mid 2000s. Remember Madden 04, Mike Vick?
Oh, Mike Vick, Madden 04.
He's Madden 04, Mike Vick come to life. That's who Lamar Jackson is.
If the fake slide was still in effect, I think we'd see that from Lamar Jackson. You know that move that Michael Vick made famous.
Yeah, the way he drags his leg.
the little fake slide. And I think, but he doesn't need it, man. Like Lamar Jackson, he's such, and you see this word thrown around all the time, but he's such a twitchy guy.
Yeah.
Like he's got the quickest feet on the field, And I think just what's really like, obviously coming into the league, he was a transcendental, he was a transcendent talent at the quarterback position, but he's really showed that this offseason, more than anything, the biggest muscle he worked out was his brain.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I think, Justine, and we talked about this off air about the importance of coaching, and like, well, I'm sure we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a minute. We talked about how, like, when you get deeper in the playoffs, all the teams are talented. So that kind of levels out. Right. The advantage that you have to have at that point has to be somewhere else. It's got to be schematically. You got to be more healthy. You got to have something. And I want to give a ton of credit to the Ravens staff for when they picked him. It was, we have to build this team for him. We have to do what makes him successful.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is what's going to put them in the playoffs. Whereas I remember when Marcus Mariota came out, Mike Mularkey was the Tennessee Titans head coach, and they said, Coach, are you going to put some spread principles in this offense for Marcus Mariota? He said, no, he's going to run my offense. That is a losing mentality in today's NFL. You adopt or you die.
And where's Mike Mularkey now?
I don't know.
Exactly.
He's selling hot dogs.
Yeah. So, that's just kind of underscores the importance of coaching. Speaking of coaching, a great way to kind of differentiate who the good coaches are and who the bad coaches are, or the average coaches, Jason Garrett, is watching them whenever they lose key guys, like a quarterback, like Patrick Mahomes, like the Chiefs did with Andy Reid. And what do? The 6-2 Minnesota Vikings, Lizzo's husband and all, come to town in Arrowhead, and the Chiefs pull off a win against an NFC playoff contender without their MVP winning quarterback. That's the difference. Having a guy like Andy Reid that can scheme guys open, that makes the game easier on his quarterbacks. Playing quarterback now is easier than it's ever been if you play for the right coach and in the right system.
And if you have Tyreek Hill.
That too.
Right.
Ask Gardner Minshew. Ask Gardner Minshew, 6th round pick.
Matt Moore, obviously been a long-time backup, has some smarts in the league, but I mean, I think just with the offense that Andy Reid has put around him, like you look at Tyreek Hill, like he did a DNA test, he's 100% that guy at wide receiver. The fastest, I don't know if y'all saw this highlight, the fastest player in the league, Damian Williams rushing for one of the longest touchdowns of the season. Tyreek Hill catches up to him from 20 yards back and pats him into the end zone. You don't see that. You don't ever see that. Like even Usain Bolt put on the pads. I think Tyreek Hill is a little bit faster.
That's probably a bit much, but Jeremy's on his hyperbole game today. What did you think of that game, Justine?
I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't surprised. Like like you said, like I think obviously like with Mahomes being out, like that worries Chiefs fans. But when you have a coach like Andy Reid, like he makes up for it.
Sean Payton's another one.
True.
You can lose your franchise quarterback. In their case, the first ballot and Teddy Bridgewater's a damn good backup, by the way.
Yeah.
But first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback leaves he's out for a couple weeks with a thumb injury, and what do they go, like 4-1 in that stretch? The Chiefs, they lost a couple, but they've been competitive against like legit playoff teams in the Packers and the Vikings without Pat Mahomes.
And I have to say, everybody, you think of Andy Reid, first thing you think of offensive scheme, offensive play line, But I mean, the biggest difference in the Chiefs this year, even though they haven't been one of the like top 5 defenses in the league, their defense has improved a little bit from last season, especially in the back end, adding Tyrann Mathieu, which was kind of a low-key signing. Didn't get a lot of splash after, obviously coming after Earl Thomas going to the Ravens, but you see Tyrann Mathieu and the effect that he's had kind of on the back end of the Chiefs, and they've been playing a lot better pass defense this year. And both your throwing efficiency and the way you defend the pass those are the 2 hallmarks of winning football in 2019. No, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs' run game still stinks. I watched a couple weeks ago. I was at the Texas State Fair eating my corny dog, watching the Texans absolutely plow the Chiefs with the run
Van
game.
Malone's Texans.
Oh yeah. Carlos Hyde had his revenge game for sure. Just going right up those A and B gaps, right in the middle of the offensive line, just getting like 5-6 yards of carry. And I mean, that's something the Chiefs are gonna have to fix before the playoffs, because Patriots, whenever they see them in the playoffs, Rex Burkhead going right up the middle, especially with a healthy O-line coming back for the Patriots around that time. Shaq Mason should be about right. Like he's been kind of questionable, kind of hurt the past couple of weeks. They got a new tackle in David Newhouse, who got worked against the Ravens. But once they get their guys back, trust me, they're going to be running the ball down the Chiefs' throat if they see them in the playoffs.
Okay, speaking of running the ball, one thing that this particular team does very well, the Dallas Cowboys played the New York Giants yesterday on Monday Night Football. They won 37-18. Our guy Dak Prescott. Yes, Jeremy is a Giants fan. We should.
No, he's
I'm
an
not
Eagles
a Giants
fan.
fan.
Or Eagles
I'm
fan.
an
Either
Eagles
way,
fan.
Same thing,
yeah,
but
it's still
Same thing. No, it's
same
not.
difference, right?
still took an L.
Yeah, you still took an L. Exactly right. Dak threw for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott ran for $139, and Amari Cooper had 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. When the Cowboys can get out of their own way, they're a good football team. Until they prove that they can do that, I will not get my hopes up again.
You can't.
This is
like,
a
you can't.
Yeah, this is a 37-19 win, or 37-19, I think. What is it? Yeah, 37-18. Excuse me. Win over a division rival. They moved to 4-0 against the NFC East and are first in the division currently. And I still do not feel good about their year.
I don't know.
One of the only thing that I would, not the only thing, but and what has been an incredibly frustrating year, one of the few things that has actually gone right for them has been their quarterback, Dak Prescott, who's clearly taken a step. He's not the same guy he's been the first 3 years in the NFL. He's making throws.
Show me the money.
Yeah, it's gonna get showed to him in short order. Yeah, he's playing great football. He really is. He's throwing the ball as well as he ever has. He's making throws and attempting throws he didn't. I think a more aggressive mindset has changed a lot for him as well. His footwork's better. That makes me, that as a Cowboys fan, I feel so good about their quarterback situation. I feel good about the talent on the rest of the roster.
What about that coaching situation?
Yeah, I'm not feeling so good about that one.
I feel like, especially over the past couple games that they've had, we kind of see this. I don't know if it's just me. I think we see this struggle between Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore.
Absolutely.
Kind of a tug of war of, hey, I kind of want to run these plays. No, we should run these plays. And I think you kind of see, and you know, Jerry Jones loves him some Jason Garrett, but I think you kind of see like, hey, like this team doesn't really need Jason Garrett. I mean, the claps and everything are amazing on the sidelines, but
reminder, this is an Eagles fan who's saying that. So,
and I'm giving the Cowboys their props. They've been playing good, especially whenever Kellen Moore has that offense humming. They look unstoppable. But at certain points, I mean, I hate to throw it out there, and I mean, actually, I love to throw it out there. But that game against the Jets, like,
please.
I know you're missing your tackles, but.
And Amari Cooper, but still no excuse. Like we said, good coaches adjust, and they find different ways to win games whenever things aren't in their favor. So what did the Cowboys do what was working for them, okay? Early down passing, pushing the ball down the field, letting their quarterback be who he is and be a damn good quarterback. What did they do whenever they lose their tackles? They run on first down into loaded boxes. They put themselves in bad situations. And their defense terribly underperformed that game, and they've been up and down all year.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, when the Cowboys' defense is on, they look like the best defense in football.
One of. There's no doubt about it.
Whenever they can get Jalen Smith rushing the passer, whenever they can get him free and kind of scheme him into where he can get his hands on the quarterback, that is a deadly equation for opposing teams of the Cowboys.
Justine, I know you're a Cowboys fan just like me, so I want to know how you're feeling through their first 8 games. Week 9, we just wrapped up week 9. How do you feel about them? What do you think their future looks like?
I mean, just like every year, I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Because every year there's a chance. And, you know, I'm going to say playoffs for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Oh, wow.
For sure.
The Eagles fan in the room is not appreciative.
I'm going to say for sure
Wow.
they will win the division. But I don't know.
I'm looking at the board right now. Cowboys are 5-3. Eagles are 5-4.
But you know what? The Cowboys also have a win over the Eagles, so it's like they have a 2-game lead.
4-0 in the division.
But you got to think, Eagles already played their toughest part of the schedule. I mean,
they did,
especially. I'm not going to say that because we're going to play the Patriots soon. So after the Patriots, that would be the hardest part of the Eagles' schedule. Dallas is just now getting into their hardest part of the season. So this is really going to be a test for the Cowboys of, are y'all that team?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know the answer to that.
When we never do.
Yeah.
But I'm still hopeful. I mean, I think this is the best roster they've had.
I agree.
In forever. And just like the Cowboys always do, they do always have all the pieces. It's just getting them to all work together, which will be a struggle in itself. But, I mean, I think, I'm not saying Super Bowl, but I do think that this year will be a good year for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily agree. I hope.
Oh yeah, of course.
If they could ever get out of their own way, they can be a good. They're whenever they're right and playing well, they're good as anybody's.
Right.
But it's a matter of finding that consistently, and I'm not sure that's something that they can do. And then lastly, the other notable game from the weekend, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because it was a blowout, but the Chargers laying the smackdown on the Packers, beat them 26-11. Phillip Rivers throws for 294. Melvin Gordon goes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers only 161 yards passing, 206 yards total for that Packers offense.
For me, this is the Chargers Aretha Franklin game. This is the RESPECT game for the Chargers. They came into this game with a losing record. They still have a losing record at 4-5, but they came into this game saying, "Hey, we are a legitimate football team. We're not going to get stomped by the Packers." And even though the Packers have been on a roll this season, 7-2, only losses to the Chargers and the Eagles. The Chargers came out, especially their defense. Their defense came out and showed up this game. Old-timer Thomas Davis really came out and really showed he still got some juice left in him as well.
Okay, so real fast, can we just talk about the Niners being the only team that are undefeated? The 49ers?
Yeah, I know, Justine, you feel some type of way about that going into the Monday night game next week against
I'm just
Seattle.
saying they will be 8-1.
8-1, okay. And we're going to come in next week, and we're going to do the show, and you guys are all going to be watching and listening again. And we're going to address this prediction, okay? Seriously, somebody make note of this. So next week, whenever we're doing, we're talking over Monday Night Football, we can revisit that. And then we'll also get into, we're running out of time, but we'll also get into the NFC playoff race next week.
Let's take a look at the big board and see where we're at right now.
So as of right now, the division winners in both conferences, we have the Cowboys, Packers, Saints, and 49ers in the NFC, the Patriots, Ravens, Texans, and Chiefs in the AFC. And then a handful of teams in the hunt. But as I said, we're running out of time, so we really don't have time to get to that this week, but I'm sure that's something we'll touch on next week. Yes. For the first time, but definitely not the last time, this is No Cap signing off. Thank you guys for listening, and be sure to tune in next week.